Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Shankly Sessions, and this is your match reaction and player ratings. Burnley 0, Liverpool 1. Tough day for the Reds at Turf Moor. Horrible conditions, tough pitch, boisterous crowd. Changed lineup. Didn't really get into the rhythm of the game as such. I thought they really struggled. I was absolutely shocked that Diaz and Jota were dropped from the starting lineup. Couldn't believe it based on their performance there the other day. I thought Klopp would have liked to keep that momentum going, but I suppose it's no harm to get Bobby in there and Mane and Keita. But I just thought it was a very strange move in terms of maybe he could have played those guys first, maybe put the game to bed and maybe introduce those guys. Certainly, if you look at the first half, I mean, we were lucky to be ahead. A couple of times they broke through. I know a couple of times they were cut offside Burnley, but they could have easily scored a couple. Our passing was so disjointed in the first half. Again, very casual in possession. Very strange performance for the Reds. Big week coming up. Obviously, midweek, we're going to be facing Inter Milan at the San Siro in the round of 16, the Champions League. So would have wanted to put on a real good performance before heading off there. You know, conflicting views on Keita at the moment. Some people were saying that he was okay. I didn't think he was in the game at all, to be honest. I thought at times he was very wasteful in his movement and in his possession. We didn't see that forward thinking that we normally get from Keita in terms of his passing and stuff like that. Likewise with Hendo, I think barred those couple of balls into the boxes or something like that. I thought he was out of the game totally, to be honest. I don't think he had any influence on it at all. I thought Mane looked off the pace right from the get-go. I just thought he didn't get into the game. Bobby, again, struggling to get into the game. A lot of players out there at the moment struggling to get into these games and putting their marker down on it, somewhat being carried by other players, Obviously, Fabinho popped up at the goal in 40 minutes. Comes in, buries the ball. Really good reactionary save by Pope. Came off and but Fabinho there to knock it in. He did have a save prior to that earlier, and I thought Firmino would have been on it like a poacher. I was just thinking if that had been Jota in there, he would have been on that knockdown from Pope and he would have buried it into the back of the net. But no such luck from Bobby. Very open at the back as well, first half. Couple of times they got in behind us and stuff like that, and albeit for a couple of offside calls and stuff like that. But Vihorst had a couple of gilt-edged opportunities that he didn't put away. For me, Alison way too busy at the back. Obviously, doing a stellar job, albeit a couple of those headers were a bit weird, especially the second one, where he was like standing in his box nearly and he headed it. Why didn't he just collect the ball, chill things down? So there was a kind of a nervousness about this game, especially after Man City extending the lead at the top of the table yesterday with a good win against Norwich. And our concern at the moment now is not so much, we obviously have to win every week, but we also need to be putting up a number of goals on the board here because the goal difference is starting to stretch out a little bit. And as I've said in previous episodes, that could be an extra point at the end of the season. What a killer it would be if we reeled Man City back in, but we were to lose the league on goal difference. How sick would that be, Second half, I expected Klopp to make changes, but he didn't make changes off the get-go because I thought there was a number of players out of the game. Came out more of the same. Brownhill playing really well. I really like the look of that Brownhill player. Making a show really of some of the lads. That one where he did the triple move and came away with the ball, I couldn't believe it. Our counter-attack, I thought, was really slow. At times, I think we were up countering attacking, and then we just paused and stopped and moved back again, paused and stopped, moved back again. I thought our counter-attack could have been much sharper. Now, I know it's a heavy, tough pitch and all that kind of thing. Hendo, again, wasteful second half. The game was absolutely screaming for Jota, Thiago and Diaz to be introduced. As soon as Thiago came on, that midfield takes on a totally different shape, much more attacking, much more forward thinking, much more precision in the passing. Seen it straight away when he came on, picked up a ball and buried it straight out to Salah, put it right on Salah's toe. Salah having to work so hard in the first half to pick up passes and stuff like that, Mane came off. Mane was absolutely shocking today, I think. I mean, he literally offered nothing, you know what I mean? Came off for Jota on 67 minutes and got a bit more livelier. Jota got a bit about himself. And then Keita came off from Milner in the 92nd minute. It was just a tactical substitution to run the clock down a little bit. So, yeah, we come away from Turf Moor 1-0. We keep the title race going. I mean, it is 3 points, so we can't be too down on it. I think Van Dyke today, had a decent game. He was up against Vhorst, who's a tough opponent to put in there, put himself about, especially when you look at Matip. Matip was poor, especially in the first half, but grew into the game a little bit better in the second half. But first half, his distribution was shocking at times, But yeah, we go again on Wednesday into Milan in the first leg of the round of 16, the Champions League. And then we roll on to the weekend again to keep the title race going. In terms of player ratings, let's start. Alison Becker gave him an 8 in very, very tough conditions today. And I really liked his goalkeeping in terms of when there was a clear offside and stuff like that. He played all the way. That one where he pushed out to the left that time for Cornet, I think it was really, really good. Even though he didn't know it was offside, he kept on playing. He pushed them wide all the time. Really, really good. So very, very good from Alison today. Albeit some of those headers, maybe one or two of those decisions, he could be a bit more calming at the back, if you like. It seemed to cause a little bit of craziness at times. But yeah, 8 for Alison Becker today. Clean sheet. Good job. Trent I gave a 6-2 today. Some of his passing was really, some of his balls into the box were really, really good, but he seemed a little bit off today at times. Again, it just, for me, I don't know whether you guys are looking at it, but it's just a casualness about his play at times where he kind of drifts in and out of the games. Instead of those absolute piercing missile type balls, it's just a casual hit and hope kind of thing that I don't like to see from him. But overall, decent work rate and a decent shift put in. But I just think, his delivery obviously into the box for the goal, I thought was really, really good. But other than that, it was kind of like it was workmanship today more so than the class of Trent that we know. Joel Matip, I gave a 6-2 as well. Thought his first half wasn't really good at all. I thought his distribution, I think nearly on 3 passes, one after the other, he gave them all away or kicked them out of play. Really, really poor. And I thought at times he struggled defensively as well in the first half. I thought Vhorst gave him a bit of a torturous time. Second half, way much better. Stepped off a little bit and knew how to play the game a little bit better in the second half. The first half definitely struggled. Virgil Van Dyke, I gave a 7-2. Didn't have a huge amount to do all day. Stepped up a number of times to make sure the offsides. Only as Virgil does, but Virgil, a bad day at the office for Virgil is a 7, so went in today, did a professional job, didn't have a whole lot to do, stood up to Vhorst. That was really it. Andy Robertson, I gave a 6-2. I didn't think Robbo was ever really in the game. I think he struggled at times with balls and stuff like that, and tough and testing conditions for Robbo. But at times, I think we were on the break a couple of times and the ball was fed out to him, and instead of keeping the break going, even at one stage we were outnumbering Burnley on a break, check back inside again, it just kills it, and then Burnley are able to get organised, and then we know how difficult it is to break them down. Fabinho gave a 7-2. At times struggled. Again, I'm not sure whether that blend of him, Hendo and Keita works for me. I'm just not convinced by it, and I don't know whether it's a Keita thing or a Hendo thing or a combination of the two. But I like to see Fabinho in there with 2 progressive players. So when Jones is in there and Thiago's in there, it's a different Fabinho. But today, he had a lot to do. Obviously, cropped up and got the goal because it didn't look at times where it was going to come from anyone else. So he had to do the business and get in there and picked up the goal on the second attempt. But yeah, good to see our midfield chipping in with goals as well. I mentioned this a number of times. It's really, really important that we get goals from all over the park and not just the front 3 or the front 5. Naby Keita, I gave a 7-2. A lot of places are giving Naby an 8. I didn't think he had a great game, really. I didn't think he really influenced the game as he can normally with his passing and stuff like that. At times, I thought he was, giving away needless fouls, more sloppiness on the ball and stuff like that. I thought his tackling, was kind of poor. And his distribution wasn't great either. I thought at times he struggled today big time and didn't really get into the game. And he was one I was thinking would be whipped off at halftime. But obviously not. But I gave him a 7. Who else? Jordan Henderson. Jordan, I gave a 5-2 today. He just wasn't in the game at all. Now, I know he's coming back off a back injury and stuff like that, but I don't know. I'm not too sure about Jordan. Hate saying this. I know he's our captain and all and stuff like that, but he just seems to be out of the play at the moment. I've seen him now in several matches where he's just not at it and just not in the game. And I'm just wondering is, the other options we have there, the better options, and maybe bring Jordan on from the bench or something like that, because he'd really no influence on the game today. He played one good ball in the first half, and that was really it. Nothing else. His link-up play was shocking. His positioning was shocking. At times he was dragged out of position, and I just thought he had a real bad day at the office again. Mo Salah, I'm giving a 6 to. Didn't do a whole lot today, to be honest. Every time the ball was played forward to him, he either ran down into the channel, turned back into trouble. When he didn't turn back into trouble, he made a move, came off around the box, didn't really want to pull the trigger, but was never really in the game. And that's the same for our front three. Our front three today, Mane, Firmino, and Salah. Are we seeing a changing of the guard now, that this is not the three to be starting with? It's not the three that we think it is. I'll get on to Firmino now in a minute. But Salah gets a 6 today. He just wasn't at the race. He wasn't his sharp self. And I know, look, again, tough pitch, not what he's used to playing on and stuff like that. And I'm just wondering, maybe is the excitement of coming back to play the other day at Anfield, as opposed to heading to Burnley today to Turf Moor, is the fatigue catching up on him now a little bit from the AFCON? That wasn't there the other day, because there was obviously an energy going through him and an excitement to be back playing at club level. So I'm not too sure. So I think Klopp will have to take a look at that and maybe see what we want to do for Wednesday. For me, now, I'll give a 5 to. He's just always on the outside, isn't he? He's just peripheral. It's just he doesn't really get into it. And he's been shocking now for a few weeks. He just doesn't get into the game. He drops deep. Then he's less effective. Wandering around the pitch, doesn't know what to do. That ball that was played in, that shot that Pope parried. If Jota, as I said, had been in there, he would have been hunting that down like a poacher. Firmino's watching the game unfold in front of him instead of being fully involved in the game. And for me, he's definitely, and I'm sad to say this because I love Bobby Firmino, I'm not too sure whether he's a starter anymore. I'm just not convinced he's a starter anymore. I don't know how you can justify starting him and keeping Jota on the bench at the moment. I just don't know. Let me know what you think, Reds, in the comments. But that's what I'm thinking at the minute. Sadio Mane, again, not a great day at the office. I give him a 6. He was lively and forceful down the left, but what did he really produce at the end of the day? And I was shocked as well. At one stage, the ball was played down in that channel into that left-hand corner, and he was chasing the ball down. And the Burnley player went past him to get the ball. And I was thinking, that's not like Sadio Mane at all. Now, I know, let's be honest, he's been out on the party bus for the last week or so after winning the AFCON. So I'm not sure what way he is. And I'm sure maybe Klopp used as an opportunity to knock the rust off. But this is a dangerous game to play. 1-0 up against Burnley at Turf Moor. They could have got an equaliser, and then that's title race over. So we don't want to be risking that, But give him a 6 today. So our front three today, really, really poor. Thiago came on for Henderson on 59. Gave Thiago a 6. Didn't really influence the game as much as I thought, but definitely became a lot more lively and a lot more forward and positive thinking when he came on. His distribution and his passing is really, really good. And he has that composure in midfield, to get on the ball. He's strong enough to hold up the ball, look up, pick a pass, see how the game is unfolding instead of trying to get shot of it. So he brought that bit to it. Jota came on for Mane, gave him a 6. Again, I think with Jota, at times he finds it hard to get into games when you bring him on and just give him 20 minutes and stuff like that. But for him to be sitting on the bench today, I thought it was criminal. How would you lose your spot after playing so well? You know what I mean? And I think this allegiance to that front three, I think at times has to be tested by Klopp. You know what I mean? The justification for Diaz on the bench today and Jota on the bench today is just bewildering to me. Mane has been out of sorts big time. And even by his own accounts, even though he won the AFCON, didn't really have an amazing tournament either, you know what I mean? And I just think it was weird dropping the two boys. I would have started with the two boys and maybe brought the boys on later on when the game was a bit more safer. James Milner just came on, tactical substitution, didn't give him a rating. James just comes on, shuts things down a little bit. There was about a minute to go or something like that, so no real reason to give a rating. Well, this has been match reaction and player ratings. It was a tough day at the office, but we did get the 3 points. Tough place to go, horrible conditions, horrible pitch, and we know Burnley are going to drag you down into the dirt when they're playing you as well. But we stood up to it, got a 1-0 win. Title race is still on. Gap is back to 9 points with a game in hand. Really, really important we keep on knocking these matches off. But a much better performance needed on Wednesday against Inter Milan at the San Siro, and certainly going into next week's game. Much better performance definitely required. As always, if you want to contact the show, you can drop your comments into the the video here on YouTube, or you can get us on Twitter at Session Shankly, or you'll get us on Gmail, the Upper Tier Podcast, or you'll find us on Facebook and Instagram, the Upper Tier. We will talk to you again. No doubt we will be chatting to you tomorrow night for the Monday mashup. We'll be back where the boys will be on chatting about all the weekend's action and headlines. And then we will be dropping our preview for the Champions League matches coming up this week, myself and Darren. Till next time, folks, an absolute pleasure.